So I was at least somewhat optimistic that even with some of the guys being out still, that the Bulls were going to go into this matchup Monday night against the Houston Rockets and be ready to go. And that they were going to come in and they were going to handle business. Absolutely. Because this was a Rockets team that a few weeks back that frankly the Bulls didn't come out with the energy level they needed. They didn't play like a championship team should, which is go on the road to a place like Houston against a crappy team and blow them out in the first half so that way you don't have to worry about it, get some rest for your starters. Instead, they let the Rockets hang around, and the Rockets took it to them. You know, learning a valuable lesson, I think, that when you're a very good team, which the Bulls are a very good team right now, hence their second place in the Eastern Conference in terms of the playoffs, you've got to be ready to go because these teams are going to come after you. The good teams want to beat you because you're a very good team. The bad teams want to beat you because they don't have anything to lose. They want to make a statement. So I was confident that they would find a way to get this done. Although, you know, when you still find out that, hey, Derek Jones is out of protocols, but he's not going to play, you're like, oh, what the deuce? And then when you start the game and Alex Caruso starts, but then he's out with injury very early on, you're like, oh, give me a goddamn break. So the Bulls team's starting to get snake bitten due to COVID and due to just injuries and other bullshit. But lo and behold, it just didn't matter on Monday night. Now, did it? A couple other things I want to call out here really quickly. Happy birthday, Adam Amin. And it was really good to hear Stacey King, even though he sounded like a robot in a damn tunnel. Hopefully those two will be able to work together very, very soon. Although Stephen Bardo's done well filling in for him in that time. But the Bulls, as I mentioned, like learning the lessons, and sometimes that's what needs to happen. Sometimes you need a team like the Houston Rockets to beat you, so you learn a lesson. And clearly they learned that lesson, and they learned it well because they came out in this first half and they played fantastic basketball. They were up 35-26 after one. Even with Caruso exiting early with the injury, it really didn't matter. Vucevic had 8 to lead the way. You had Alfonso McKinney stepping up, a next man up type of mentality. Got guys getting time that normally wouldn't get time. See what they can do. He hit a couple of threes in the first quarter on what was ultimately a pretty damn good game for him. So the Bulls, you know, already up 9 after one, you're saying, okay, this is encouraging. And then they played even better in the second quarter. That's where they truly won this game. They were up 73-54 at the half. The Bulls shot 60% from the field and 53% from three. DeMar DeRozan had 16 points to lead Chicago. You had two others with double figures, plus Alfonso McKinney, the aforementioned, had 9 points. Christian Wood led the Rockets with 17 points. Eric Gordon with 10. But, you know, a big story in this game, a couple of big themes, bench scoring advantage for the Bulls, and then the ability to find the open guy, hit the open shot. Those are the two biggest keys for the Bulls in this one. But at halftime, like, I was feeling really good about it. I said, nah, their energy level's really good. Offensively, they're doing a lot of good things. It's going to be really, really hard for this Houston Rockets team to come back on them. And it was. The Bulls grew their lead a little bit in the third quarter, which is what you want to really see a very good or great team do, is when you've got them down, like, put them away. They didn't put them all the way away necessarily, but, hey, you're already up 19 at the half, and you can grow your lead to 22 after 3. There's really not a lot to complain about here. DeMar DeRozan, you know, he had another 8 points in the quarter, so he was sitting at 24 after the third. The Bulls had a big bench scoring advantage here in the first 3 quarters, 43-20. And then you look at the other big key to this game. They had 36 made field goals through 3 quarters and 25 assists. So like I said, they were moving the basketball tremendously well throughout the game, finding the open man, staying away from too much of the ISO man game. And it was that ability to make the extra pass, find the open man that was generating a lot of easy shots, a lot of high-quality, open, good shots. And the Bulls were hitting them. And some nights you can move the ball well and you don't hit the shot, so it doesn't matter. But here they moved the ball well and they were hitting those shots. The fourth quarter was more just kind of riding out the string. The Rockets showed a little bit of a burst of energy for a moment, but it wasn't going to be enough. The Bulls ultimately ended up holding them off, winning comfortably, 133-118, so getting a little bit of revenge for the loss back in Houston a few weeks ago. This was nice on a back-to-back for a still somewhat depleted team to follow up that win over the Lakers on Sunday night, to follow it up here with kind of a revenge win over the Houston Rockets. Like, I'm happy with this team, proud of this team's performance on Monday night. DeMar DeRozan showing that he is the MVP candidate of this team. There's no question about that. He finished with 26 to lead Chicago. Kobe White, hey, you know what? Again, next man up type of mentality. He'd been out for a few weeks, had played like shit for the most part. I admit it, he had. He played well in this one. He had 24 points to lead the team off the bench. That's right, Kobe. Drive up your trade value. Maybe Houston saw something in you in that game and they'll want you. More on that in a moment. And he was part of a big performance by this Bulls bench. You know, the Alfonso McKinneys of the world, the Tyler Cooks of the world. You know, you're going to get some contributions for Devon Dotson. But Kobe White led the way with 24. The Bulls bench ultimately outscored Houston 66 to 48. And, you know, honestly, some of that was padded a little bit by Houston getting some garbage time buckets late. But, you know, it was that bench that made a big damn difference. Lonzo Ball had 19 and Vucevic had 18, so two of your other marquee players played solid in this one, but they weren't as necessarily needed to be big time scorers in this spot. Although I still love when I see Lonzo Ball be aggressive and take the damn pill to the rack, because when he does, he plays at a different level, and this team plays at a different level. I don't want Lonzo Ball just to be one that passes the ball and hits the spot up three only. The other facet of his game offensively is he can get to the rack and he can finish. He needs to do that more, because when he does, it creates opportunities for himself and everybody else. Christian Wood was great here. He led the Rockets with 23 points and 11 rebounds. Jayshawn Tate had 16, Armani Brooks and KJ Martin had 15 apiece. But ultimately, as I talked about earlier, the two big keys to the game, the fact that they were moving the basketball so well. They had 47 field goals made in the game, 33 of them were assisted on. That's high quality shit. They had one fewer assists than they had rebounds in this game. This probably speaks to the bigger issue about their inability to hit the glass on a consistent basis. And due to that ball movement, they shot 53% from the field, and combine that with the bench scoring, like, it's easy to see this is a total team victory, and the Bulls were great here. They absolutely were. Now, as I referenced before, talk about Kobe White and drive up that trade value. Man, watching Christian Wood in this game, I sat there and I thought to myself a couple of things. Number one, how fucking stupid was Detroit to not pay him? Didn't they pay up Plumlee instead of paying Christian Wood? And especially when you look at the contract that he got. I mean, that's one of the better contracts you've seen in quite some time in the NBA. Like, that's crazy to me. What's it, like 3 years, $41 million, and he's only in the second year of that? Like, this dude is damn near playing himself into a future max contract type of player. He really is. And he's still young as hell. You know, he's got length, he's got athleticism, he's got shooting ability to rebound, block some shots. Man, oh man. I know some of y'all might disagree with me, but I look at Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and I say that's a foundation of a trade to bring in a guy like Christian Wood. Because Kobe White's a luxury that you don't need. Pat Williams isn't doing anything for you. Christian Wood still on a pretty friendly contract that still goes through the 2022-2023 season. Like, goddamn, could you imagine this team with him? He'd be that versatile 4-5 kind of guy, that stretch 4, that could do a lot of the things that this Bulls team really lacks. And it was watching him in this game that helped you shine a light on, like, just how much of a problem a guy like him could be for a team like this. And you think ahead to the playoffs, and you look at Giannis, and you say, oh, you know, how are the Bulls going to match up with him? You look at potentially the Cavs, and you say Evan Mobley. We already saw that once. Ugh, how are they going to match up with him? Man, I'm sorry, but I know the depth in this season is important, especially with the COVID stuff. You know, so that's key. And sometimes you could bring in one too many pieces, and it kind of screws up the jam and the chemistry of the team. Oh, goddamn, man. If they could, and it's highly unlikely Houston would trade him, but you never know. If you don't ask, you don't know. But man, oh man, watching this game just shined the light on me that Christian Wood needs to be the target for this Bulls team, because that's the piece that could potentially put them over the top in the Eastern Conference and make them a true NBA championship contender. And I'm dead serious about that. But that's a conversation for another time. Either way, happy as hell with the Bulls' performance on Monday night. Learned a lesson and learned it well, and they came out and took care of business.